All right, we have a quorum. We'll call the first meeting of November to order for the Liberty Grove Town Board. The clerk will note that all supervisors, with the exception of Guys, are present, as well as the clerk administrator, treasurer, and office assistant. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. If you have a cell phone, if you wouldn't mind turning them off or putting them on vibrate so as not to interrupt the meeting. And a reminder to the board to speak into the microphone. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we need to approve the agenda. Are there any deletions? If not, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Forker. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We have the minutes from Wednesday, October 16th. Are there any corrections? If not, I'll move their approval as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Farber. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Next, public input. This is the opportunity for the public to address the board on any given subject and also on the agenda subject. And we'll start out with just general comments from anybody. If they have them, Bob, you want to wait?
An old subject, we still have to do something about getting over to the Ballet Motel and inspecting it. I have not talked to Kathy, so, about it. So I don't know how you'd like to handle that. I can talk to her if you want to give me a date, or maybe somebody from the board should contact her. I can give you her phone number.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Yes, Carl?
Yes, for the special town meeting on the 18th, could you explain the procedure on that a little bit? Because I've never been to one of these before, having recently moved here, and especially that 15-minute slot for the public comment. Is that shorter than normal, or is that normal, or what's the story on that? What are our rights as town electors when we vote on this issue?
The events that evening start out with a hearing on the budget, at which time comments from the audience are taken on the budget itself. When that hearing closes, then the special town meeting is called to order, and that the town meeting votes on the levy. The electors of the town vote on the levy for the upcoming budget year. After that, there's a board meeting to adopt the budget as formulated.
Anybody else, general comments? Yes.
Is this the appropriate time to comment on number 9?
When we get to number 9, we'll put you on the list then. Yes?
Just a quick question. So is it limited to 15 minutes, or can it go as long as people would like it to go? Because it is an unusual limitation you haven't had before.
I'm assuming we probably as a board let it go, as long as it doesn't get, overly repetitious.
Yeah, it's just the
Yeah.
15 minutes was new.
Sure.
Is it 15 minutes for the input? That's the vote, right? Does the input start at 6?
What's the 15-minute?
Yeah, okay, back to the 15 minutes. Is it posted at 15 minutes?
Right, on the
Oh.
posting, it's posted as one meeting starting at 6, and then the next one starting at 6:15. And I think that,
No.
6:30, I think, Janet. and then
It says right
6:45.
on there, times approximate.
so the hearing part is the first part, correct?
Yes.
And the hearing will last as long as the hearing needs to, provided that things don't become repetitious.
Peter?
Allison Bay. I've talked about this subject before, parking at the Grandview. The other day, when there were more tourists around, there were 4 people in a row parked on the side of the road in the no parking area. I wonder if we couldn't consider putting 3 signs up. One just south of the Hanson's house, one down the hill a little bit, and one in the middle between the two, and that says no parking between signs, no parking, no stopping, no standing between signs. And that might help solve the problem if we're able to do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, Carol?
Carol Moronic, Starkloff Road. I have a question related to the outcome or ramifications of the result of the November 18th special town meeting vote. It was nice, thank you for putting the information on the website, which you did. It was very helpful, and I'm assuming that the motion, that the town will make a motion first, and that motion is what is written on these papers. The resolution 9-13. And so the motion is made by the town, not by the townspeople, is that correct?
By the electors. There'll be a motion, there'll be a resolution introduced on the levy override issue, and then the electors will vote on that resolution.
Okay, so the motion is made by the town. So the resolution is the equivalent of a motion?
By the town electors.
Yeah. Well, that would be the taxpayers, correct?
Whoever qualifies as an elector
Yeah.
of the town.
So, all right, I'm still
You can be,
confused. Does somebody read the
you can be a
resolution?
taxpayer, but not necessarily an elector.
I see. But the resolution comes first, and that is something that the town would introduce that explains what the town would like, and then after that, does the electorate then make a motion? Is that how it works?
They would make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Okay. And that would come from the people who are sitting out in the audience, correct?
The resolution,
An elector.
the resolution will come forward probably from the chair.
All right. So the resolution, I'm so confused, is that the motion, or is that just the suggest, that's what the town would like, and then someone from the town makes the motion?
There would be a motion made to adopt the
Yeah,
resolution.
okay, all right. I would just like to ask if there's a possibility that if in the next 2 weeks before that meeting, that the town would provide a bit more detailed information to the people of the town as to, more specifically, or give examples as to what kind of services might be changed should this resolution not pass. And I think there has never been made in this front page that was printed out by Janet for us for on the website. Can you address special projects as well in that? I mean, for example, there are all kinds of things on back burners like visitor centers and Niagara Escarpment centers and road improvement and so forth, and not just now but in the future. I'm wondering, is it possible that the townspeople before they vote could be given more detailed information as to how things, what would happen if the resolution failed, or what would happen if it passed? Is that something that can be done, do you think?
Sure, I think that's reasonable.
And would it be in the paper or on the website, or how?
I think we probably do it the night of the meeting.
Okay. And not before?
No, and I think that on the website, Dan, am I correct, that you did kind of indicate?
She did, and we talked about it today.
Oh,
but-
okay.
I did not get specific,
Mhm.
and that's what her question is.
It would be very helpful if you could be more specific, especially in view of some of the special things that people, I know that there are things that are, that will benefit, it says that services that benefit the entire taxpayer base, and that's kind of difficult to, it's an interpretation somewhat, so to speak, as to how, that would be interpreted. So I wondered if there were things that you might be able to identify at some point before people come, to vote.
At the two finance committee meetings that we had previously, probably the first thing to go would be room tax revenue given out for the request. We have $48,000 in requests for room tax monies. That probably would be shifted back to the budget to cover expenses in the budget if the levy override isn't approved. The next thing would probably be consideration of cutting back perhaps the number of parks that are open, the maintenance and so forth in the parks. We have a situation at the dock, obviously in Ellison Bay, that's deteriorated, considerably. That would probably come right off the docket. The one thing the board did make a decision on is that because in the past, where the cutting has been taking place, has been the roads, the highway department, that would not be on the cutting block. And did I miss something?
As far as the room tax is concerned, isn't that already been decided by the Visitors Bureau or the state or something that there's going to be a change in that? And that it will all go towards.
That hasn't been decided.
But if it is decided, then that would prevent you from doing what you said. I mean, I'm wondering.
I've read that proposed, and I believe what they're trying to do is to make sure that room tax money gets spent on things that benefit tourism. So you could make the argument that could then go to parks and properties to keep the parks open.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Yes.
Susan Watson, Hills Rock. I have a couple other suggestions for possibly where some money could come from. You could cut back on the number of lawsuits, frivolous lawsuits that you take on. You could cut back on economic development because you're already suing your largest business, and so why do you even have any economic development in your budget? I noticed that actually goes up next year, higher. And in Notes from the Grove, John, you did say it was for road repair. You said it right in Notes from the Grove. You said it was for road repair that you needed to raise that tax levy. The room tax money, there was an announcement at the Door County North meeting, which I'm sure you know about, Lou, in which our president, Thor, said that he was told pretty much by you and John that if they don't go and vote for this room tax increase, that was pretty much a dead issue, which is deplorable. And that money is to go towards tourism, and that was a ridiculous threat to make. And I know that you're probably gunning for another group to try to get that tax levy to happen, but I'll tell you what, that's just inappropriate, because that money was supposed to go towards tourism. And at that meeting, which was the annual meeting, he announced that unless we voted for that tax increase, the DCN would probably not get funding anymore. And it's like, it's new money, so if you guys can't manage other money better than that, there's no reason to take that money.
I'd like to remind you that prior to my becoming chairman, that money was never used. It was always put in to the general fund. And that's one of the things that I asked the board at that time, to put that money, set it aside, and use it for tourism-related projects, tourism development.
That's what we've been asked to use it for, yeah.
Right. But I need to correct you from the standpoint that if this was 5 years ago, this discussion would not be taking place.
Isn't that only about 5 years old, that program?
No, please listen to what I'm telling you. Prior to my assuming the chair of the town of Liberty Grove, That money was put into the general fund to be spent on all sorts of different projects. I asked at the finance committee and I asked the board to take that money, to set it aside and utilize it for programs that benefit tourism. And last year, when the Door County North came and asked for the $20,000, that's where that money came out of, was that designated fund of the room tax. That's where the came out of, and that's where funding for a number of the other projects in the town come from, the room tax revenue.
As every other community,
No,
this is the worst.
I think you need to check with other communities as to how they handle the room tax fund. Okay. Anybody else, general comments? Okay, anybody wish to speak on an agenda item? Yes. Well, when we get to it, we'll just get your name down, I'm sorry. Anybody else? Yes, Carl?
Carl Zoppi, number 10, please.
Okay, I'm here, number 9, right?
Yes.
Is that who you use, Tim?
Yes, Carl. Anybody else? Yes.
6, 9, and 10.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, Mike?
I have 10.
Anybody else? Okay. On to then the next agenda item. I would like to make one particular comment here. I received in the mail a thank you note from, and I can't read the last name, they live on Bluebird Trail, and it says, "Dear Mr. Lowry, we would like to commend one of your employees, Janet Johnson, Administrative Assistant and Treasurer at the Liberty Grove Town Hall. She is always pleasant, helpful, and most knowledgeable. She has assisted us several times, and each time we walk away very grateful for her assistance. She's a great representative for the town, and I'd like to second that. She's done a beautiful job for us. Thank you." And she asked me not to read that, but sorry, Janet.
Is that in her handwriting?
It's in her hand. I didn't want to bring that up.
I don't even know who they are.
All right, trash pickup survey, Janet, I believe that's
As of today, we've gotten back 406 responses, which is about 22.5% of the mailing. Based on what the committee decided to do with these results, it won't happen, but there have been 94 requests for 1-year service, 37 requests for 6-month service, and 275 don't wish to have service. And if you read through their reasons why they don't, the majority of people aren't here enough and produce so little garbage that the bag service that Going has is good enough for their needs. So, it doesn't sound
promising.
It's gonna go.
Okay. Okay, going on to,
No.
oh,
All right.
okay. Going on to number 7, first responder agreement with county.
Yeah, I have it. You have it in your notes that Bud had sent out.
Yes.
This is an agreement between the county and the first responders, the fire departments of various municipalities. So the town, and in this case, the village of Sister Bay, are not directly involved, only tangentially involved. In essence, the first responder agreement is saying, the county is saying, in fact, that they very much value the first responders, but that there's no employment relationship between the first responder and the county. And that is, in essence, to make sure that there's no liability. If, for example, a first responder gets into an accident or something happens on the way to an emergency, the local fire departments are supposed to be, according to this agreement, providing the insurance, and our fire department does provide that insurance. This refers to first responders who are not firefighters. Most of the first responders in Liberty Grove, Sister Bay, are firefighters. So it's a very small number that's affected by this agreement anyway. It doesn't affect the insurance. And the workers' comp is provided for by the county anyway. So it's just more of an FYI to the town. There's no action that needs to be taken so far as the town is concerned.
Any questions, anybody else?
By way of clarification, doesn't the board have to approve this?
No, Frank.
Okay.
It's just, it's between the fire department itself as an entity. The municipal fire departments rather than the municipal governments are the ones who sign the agreement.
Okay, all right. That's clarification.
Thank you, Frank.
Okay, going on to number 8. Consider contract with independent inspections. I believe you've got the information from the attorney as well as questions. This is passed, obviously the fees are passed through. I know Jack raised a number of questions regarding the ability for the town to hire somebody that was an inspector previously, or and there were clarification on the 25 inspections and that. I don't know if it's something we want to address or just go ahead and sign the contract.
I've been happy with what independent inspections has done. We've gone through a period since '08 where there haven't been that many, but it's picking up now. And I think they have the professionalism to do a good job. I think we'll have to approve the contract.
You have any input?
We've had good success. We've had a few minor flare-ups that have been taken care of in the office here or with through the company itself and the contractors. So I'm not hearing anything that would lead us to want to do anything drastically different.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, if not, I'll make a motion to approve the contract for services from Independent Inspections Limited.
I'll second.
Second, Porter. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. Going on to number 9, Highway Committee, consider recommendation to apply for TRIP funding.
This is a recommendation from Highway on Monday. Your documentation may not show that it's a biennial program that is shared amongst the counties and the state. This year, Door County is a little over $100,000 to split up amongst the municipalities that apply. This trip form here, this application would be for Garrett Bay Road, purchase of hot mix asphalt only. These applications are submitted by Thanksgiving time. The committee made up of municipal representatives meets in December and goes through a scoring process and awards the money to the municipalities according to that scoring procedure. There's points given for size of project, thickness of asphalt, safety issues, and there are 2 years to complete the project, and after that, a application for reimbursement is made. And at this time, we have the application in for Alvey Road, that one's been completed. And this one, I'm thinking we'll probably get somewhere around 20,000 for this one, depending on the scoring, and how many people apply, municipalities apply.
Am I correct that not all the municipalities necessarily apply?
Correct.
Question?
I think it's a good program. We've received monies from the TRIP funds in previous years. Do we need a motion here to instruct the administrator to apply for the funds? I move that the board authorize our administrator, Bud Combs, to apply for the TRIP funds.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Forfeit, seconded by Farmer. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the second item here is consider recommendation to hire Borland Engineering to analyze the storm sewer system along Cedar Shore Road.
A couple of people want to talk.
Oh, okay. Kevin?
Kevin Roberts from Baby Resort. It's my understanding that there's a lot of ifs involved in the sewer project. If it is repaired, the timeline would be completed along with Cedar Shore Road repairs, which are, as I understand it, tentatively scheduled for next year, but subject to funding and what have you. And if that's not correct, please let me know. Can anyone tell me when those road repairs will be occurring?
Steve Parent was here on Monday to the highway committee. He said that they would get, if this work is awarded to them, they would get that done in about a month. He recommends doing the actual work to the piping in there in the spring, compacting really well for it to settle down, and then the paving, all this is going to depend on budget, of course. The paving would be done according to the schedule of the vendor that gets the contract for paving. Usually it's been somewhere between the first part of June and the middle of July. That's the schedule that's been followed in the past.
Got it. I know that weather, temperature, a lot of that impacts, when they can do that work as well. Is it possible that we communicate as much as possible? Because that'll be a hardship on us. That's our only entrance to the resort, and we'll have to figure out a plan B if that happens. And if there's any latitude whatsoever in those contractors to push up the dates, about June 15th to June 20th, we're full or close to it, and we're going to stay that way until mid-August. My other question was location. Is that going to go as far as, say, where Smitty and Miriam's driveway is, or is it going to be closer to? I'm talking about the more significant repairs. Will it be the whole road, or just that part of it?
We've got the whole road slated for paving.
The whole road, got it.
All the way around to Garrett Bay Road.
Do you expect it will expand at all in terms of footprint, or is it about exactly where it is now?
No, the right of way is pretty narrow right there, so it'll be, I would say, it'll probably be identical to what it is. Maybe a little bit higher.
Okay.
But if this goes, we'll try to get the contractor in to do the piping work as early as possible, let's say even April or May.
Okay.
And then we'll push for the contractor, the paving to get done. If Northeast would get it like they have in the past, they could be paving on the island, so that might have some impact on it, but not sure.
Just out of curiosity, what would the town marina do if they have, it sounds like very limited access to the parking area there during this project?
A little challenge.
Okay, all right. I want to thank you all for considering hiring Bowdoin to look at this sewer problem. Do I have about 16 more seconds here? I don't know. Okay. Great Lakes TV Seal, last year when they did their scoping of the system, they found a couple of breaks and found, inherent problems. So we know there's issues there. In the report, they referenced something called manhole number 3. I was told by 4 different people that there used to be a drain in the corner by the base of our driveway, and I had Lee Telfer come by and mark it, and it's an old manhole cover that's been covered up with asphalt or something. Is there any reason why, at least temporarily for now, we can't drill through or just put some small holes in that so that that drain can do the job it was designed to do and maybe alleviate some of those problems? Anyone that traveled on Cedar Shore Road during those torrential rains last week saw probably a good 10 inches of water, and it was impassable for anything shorter than an SUV.
Okay, we'll take a good hard look at that.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
In relation to that, when the guys started working at the harbor this week, yesterday, day before, they looked at the sheet piling where that outfall is for that storm sewer, and it's all rusted through right there. So, that whole fix there might be a little bit more than we originally thought about. So that if this gets awarded to Parent, then we'll have him look at that too, I suppose, in conjunction with him.
Suzie?
Yeah, I just had a question on that trip funding. Did you get the trip funding grant for Islandview then?
That's just been applied for reimbursement has been applied for.
Okay. And how do you, I couldn't find that anywhere. It's TRIP, but I couldn't find that online anywhere. Is there another name for that, or is that short for something?
It's Town Road Improvement Program.
Oh, okay, all right.
You usually have to go to the DOT website.
Okay, Town Road Improvement Program, okay.
Okay, back to the board then. Any questions on the address? Pretty straightforward. I think Mike Walker asked him on the meeting on Monday, the estimated total cost, and I think Steve responded that it would not exceed the 2,000, if I remember. Any other questions?
And I believe I was at the meeting, I think he said he could do it very quickly here so we can get in. But I don't recall what amount he thought the project might take. He was rather vague about that. Is that because he just didn't know how
There's another
or more. I didn't realize we've gone all the way to Garrett Bay Road.
The, Big River Road.
Mink River Road, okay, good, all right. Thank you, Bud.
Big River Road.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Dave?
Do you need to add the drain across 42, or is that a county issue?
He's gonna talk to the DOT guy.
Oh, okay. And I move we approve the recommendation out here.
Is there a second? I'll second. Motion by Farber, seconded by Lowry. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay. Going on to number 10. Consider a resolution for borrowing the 500,000. Carl?
Carl Zofke, Ron. Obviously, I don't know what you're gonna say when you're talking about this, but as a resident taxpayer, I'm confused that, I understand this has already been approved, you're just initiating the discussion of whether to take the loan out, am I correct on that?
That's correct.
Is this in addition to the 2 prior loans that are outstanding? And have they been paid off, and how much do we owe on that? Because we're paying a substantial amount of money in interest every year. And the other question I have is this separate from the tax increase that we're going for on the 18th?
Separate.
Separate. So is this like a tied over loan, or is you're gonna get, if the tax increase passes, you're gonna have this money in addition to the tax increase, is that correct?
Susie?
I don't know, are you guys you're gonna talk more about this now, right? Because we're trying to understand it, so maybe you're
Okay.
gonna talk about it.
Mike, do you want to make a comment now, or?
I would hold off for now, I just put my name in just in case I wanted to make a comment,
Okay.
but I'd like to hear what you guys have to say as well.
Shannon or Bud, do you want to explain what the process is here?
I can tell you the most. This is a resolution the bank is requiring from the town to proceed with the loan. The loan was part of last year's budget approval. Right now, we're down to approximately 60,000 in our bank accounts. And at the end of the year, I have we still have a month and a half left of bills to pay. And we have encumbered funds that we have no funds to encumber. So, this money has to be approved. It was part of last year's budget approval.
No, that's pretty much it. We got 3 for this year, and the 2 we did take from our pay project this year. We're at the first of this year.
Just so everybody understands, knowingly getting this loan to replace the funds.
Janet just said that was part of the budget for a year ago. So it's not that we didn't plan for it and all of a sudden we're scrambling for funds. It's just that if we hold off, it'll, it needs to apply to us and it's just a matter of when we.
Generally speaking, I've watched the budget pretty closely for 43 years. And I ran 4.5 years ago on the idea that we spend at least a million to yet provide the type of services and maintain the towns and the roads and everything as we should. And this again is another example.
This action last year, that we have to come to this pass this year. That's
Carl, that's part of the budgeting process every year. There's always a resolution or provision borrow.
I mean, are these are long-term loans, just loans, or like a, just like
And the question before reference to
I understand that this is before we bought a house, but there was a loan taken out in 2004 and 2005 or something like that. I mean, there's kind of explanation plus go into the details because, you know, threats don't work with me. You know, I don't think they work for a lot of people. But if you say, you know, if you're going to be proactive on this thing, then try to say, you know, we have to move to another level here because all we see, you know, talking about huge amount of money, and they didn't spend that kind of money. Everybody's going to have a up their butt about something, and it's not just us. You know, it's like, it may be on the side of the angels, but right now the trust factor is there on the part of the voters. I'm all for my opinion.
Go ahead, Don. More young people here, more jobs here, it'll be gone. Parks and properties. We've got, how many parks do we maintain? We may not be able to do it the way we're doing it now. And we've got, well, we've got four gentlemen that run the town crew out here. They do most of the repair work themselves. They save this town I would say hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years. And their equipment, we have to obviously replace equipment. They have some, they have some trucks and that coming up that are gonna need to be replaced at some point in time, may not be able to do it. So it's, I don't know, I don't know what to say, other than the fact is that we're just purely stymied by this whole thing, Mike.
Michael Mercier, Ellison Bay. I would just like to add that pretty much everything that's been discussed on this issue in the past 20 to 30 minutes was all previously discussed at the number of finance committees that the Finance Committee and others sat in on and discussed everything that we've just talked about. All the specifics, everything I've heard tonight, I heard at those Finance Committee meetings. I'm not on the Finance Committee, I'm not on the board, I'm on a couple other committees, but I went to those Finance Committees to be educated and try to understand why what was happening. I can appreciate that everyone came here tonight to try to get that same explanation, but I just would like to know that it really would have been nice to see a better turnout at those Finance Committees meetings when all this stuff was initially discussed. It's all difficult to digest. Some of it's disappointing. I won't disagree with that, but it is what it is. And I just encourage more people to come to those type of meetings so that you can continue to keep yourself up to date as to what's going on and not feel like there's information that you're not being told. Thank you, and I appreciate all of your hard work in the number of finance committees that all of you had to get this all worked out.
Thank you.
John, has there been a levy override since 2005? That should be the very first. And from what I understand, and to address your question, Carl, is to, coming to this as a newcomer as myself, it's hard to wrap your head around it. But with the cap in place, when 2005, as John already suggested, came around, it's like the game of statues. The town in 2005 was caught in a very low crouch as regards the posture it was in so far as spending was concerned. That's what John was saying. If the town had not been as frugal as it had been in 2005 or up to 2005, our cap would be a lot higher than it is right now. But we were crouched down when somebody said freeze. And that cap has sort of been limited. Janet said maybe 1%, John mentioned 1%, 2%. Costs have gone higher than that as the years have gone by, the 8 years since that cap had been put in place. And when you do pay off a debt, whether it's the bonds or the capital improvement for the capital expense for the truck, the fire truck, the levy actually goes down. So whereas expenses are continuing to go up, like everybody understands, whether it's fuel or wages or whatever that might be, that levy is going, that line is going up. The levy, or the amount that we can charge, the town can charge, is actually going down. What Bud had projected out, and Janet had projected out from what was presented to the Finance Committee, as Michael just suggested, was that whereas 2014, the budget that's coming up to be approved on the 18th, in 2014, as much as the town pared back expenses in order to meet the cap that it has, and it has pared back quite a bit, including highways, that in 2015 and then 2016, as the debt that we owe gets paid and expenses continue to go, the gap between the expenses here and the amount that the town gets as income from the levy is even further apart. 2015 means, and not in a threatening way, but in a very enlightening way, that discretionary programs just have to go by the boards. There's no way to meet that gap. The $200,000 that is proposed for the levy increase would only get the town at a place, so far as expenses and the levy, would only get the town just about where it is now let alone anything beyond that. The question as to though, well, why is the town spending money on this as opposed to that? That's a separate issue, whether it's frivolous lawsuits, as been suggested, which is obviously a term that I don't agree with, on the one hand, or highways on the other hand. What John had alluded to earlier in terms of what I understand, how does the town prioritize? What will spend that money, whether it's because the levy is in there or because we're so much lower than where expenses are? Where do you cut to get down here? And the things that seem to come to the fore as to things that should be done are the things that benefit most people generally as opposed to a limited group. That's how the town has decided to prioritize what is done with the limited funds that it has. But that 200,000 that's proposed will only get the town in 2015, maybe 2016, just about where that cap and expense line is now. And that, in the 2014 budget, has been very much pared back as well.
Excuse me, Lou, Art, is that was the number that was made around my mind, is that 200,000 what this tax increase is going to raise?
That is correct. And for the individual taxpayer, what does that mean? From what I understand, the individual taxpayer would assume about $16 a year for every $100,000 of property. Is that about right? Did I get that right? So roughly $35 to $36 on a $200,000 evaluated valued property. And then you could do the math after that. 300,000 would be 3 times 15 or a year. That's what the consequence would be. But it's the first override since the caps went into place. And as John already suggested, good, bad, or indifferent, the town in 2005 and before that was a very frugal enterprise insofar as what it had been spending.
And to add to that, the town basically has 2 main charges. It's the health, safety, welfare. And really the only thing that the town, I guess, needs to really do is roads. And the roads have been, over the years, that budget has always been cut to fill in some of the other spots. And I think the board at this point in time has said, you know, we can't keep doing that because look at the situation we're in. And we're taking money out of the maintenance of the roads, putting off projects on the roads that need to be done to a point in time where it's getting more expensive to do those things, and that just doesn't make sense. You need to address those roads that need resurfacing, chip sealing, whatever the case may be, when it's actually needed, and not put off 5 years down the line. I think Bud mentioned Garrett Bay Road, from what we can find in the records of the town, hasn't been looked at since
50s.
51, I think you said.
Yeah, and that, I mean, I guess that kind of indicates to you what has been done. And I think the frugality of previous boards is commendable. And
For those of you that use the marina, Paul, there has been money budgeted every year since 2008 to improve the marina. And every year since 2008, that money has gone into something else. So basically, nothing has been done on that marina since 2008. And those of you that go down there, those of you that use it, can tell just by looking at it that nothing's been done. And then, we still had to deal with the silting issues, this whole storm sewer issue, now that we've looked at the sheet steel where it exits into the bay, it looks like that's gonna have to be replaced. And that is an expense that nobody had even considered as far as the marina. Now, do we put that off another year? We can't. That's where the storm sewer goes. It's something that has to be done, even if there's no money there to do it. So that money has to come from somewhere. Same with the dredger.
Yeah, so, well, as Mike alluded to, it's been, it has not been a pleasant month.
I had,
looking at this.
this is for everybody in the audience. I had one of the county supervisors call me this morning that I've known for a long time. And we went through this whole issue of road repairs, well, actually road resurfacing, not repairs. Traditionally, and Bud used to correct me, I think we spent less than $300,000 a year maintaining 105 miles of blacktop and about 35 miles of gravel. Is that correct, Bud? Pretty close to it?
Ballpark.
Yeah. We should be doing, according to this county supervisors, 5.5 miles of blacktop a year on resurfacing to keep up. When I came on the board for 3 steady years, we delayed spending more than a couple hundred or $250,000 on blacktopping and graveling because we wanted, and we ran, and we were voted in office to hold expenses to the minimum. The roads are getting so bad now, and with the increase of oil and blacktop and all these other things, if we don't begin to catch up, and this is why for the current 13-year budget and next year 14-year budget and planning ahead 15-year budget, we're going to leave our children or the people that own the houses that we're living in now a horrendous bill. And this has all been made so difficult for us because of these caps. And when you and I talked about almost 2 months ago, and you hadn't even gotten the figures from the office for the audit for 2012 and the current figures for 2013, I said, Carl, please call me. We can sit down and I can explain to you some of these things. It doesn't come easy. And you have to understand them to know what you're talking about. You take very simplistic statements based upon your background and Susie's background that don't relate to the type of accounting and regulations that we have to deal with the state, cap funds, the DOT, and the fact that our roads are deteriorating faster than we're taking care of them. So as you get information together and have questions, my phone is there. Anybody can call me anytime. I've been out of the country, but I'm not out of the country some of the last 3 weeks, so maybe some calls came and I didn't get back to you because it's been pretty busy since I got back. But call me again and ask your questions.
Gerald?
I have a question on how can one override the levies that have been capped? Why is that allowed? I mean,
That's by state statute.
That's what the town meeting on the 18th allows if the electors so approve.
Yeah.
I see, by the electors, okay.
Yeah, Gibraltar last year, I think, did 150,000, if I remember correctly. And ironically, that was done for the fire department.
For the what?
Fire department.
Oh.
They were just, the fire department had, my understanding is, the fire department had, again, was a matter of frugality and hadn't been keeping up. And when the then fire chief resigned, because he didn't have time to spend on all the bookwork and regulations that the state keeps demanding, Chris Heck, our fire chief at Sister Bay Liberty Grove, was hired to go down there and help them. And they now have a new fire chief down there. But to listen to the fire chiefs explain what they have to do to report to the state, and then the equipment that they have to maintain and keep up with the new regulations is it's just unbelievable. Well, looking at that because of the fire district discussions, it's just unbelievable. Anyway.
I'm on the fire board too, and you ought to know that we put off for 2 years getting a bumper truck. It's a $375,000 purchase. It will replace 3 old trucks that are costing us a lot of money just to keep running. Some of them are 15, 18, 25 years old. So the fire board recommends to the town, we've got to buy it. We put them off the last 2 years. Bob Didmalt was there as part of the put-off. So was Nancy Goss and myself. It's difficult. We're trying to hold every penny we possibly can and not spend it. But with the levy cap system, we're just locked into a situation where we've got more we just have to do as a minimum basis. I think one of the most important things in this town is fire protection. We're spread out. We're at the end of a peninsula. We can't have fire people coming in from all 4 sides, only one narrow side to the south of us. Bailey's Harbor and Ephraim. So you look at the logistics of this thing and the cost and the state requirements on what they demand that you put in equipment and the way it has to be tested, hoses, breathing masks. We have all new breathing masks, came through a grant that our chief went after within the last year. We're scratching for every money. The firemen in Liberty Grove and Sister Bay raise a lot of money for the extra equipment they need beyond what the budget provides. The town provides 2/3 of the cost of operating the fire department because we have 2/3 of the call. And the third is by the village of Sister Bay. And we go to meetings. I've been to almost 40 meetings of that committee in the last 4.5 years. Don't believe us, we're doing all we can. But we need your support to just keep doing what we're doing. We're not making any big moves. We're not trying to spend a lot of money. But there's not much, if anything, we can cut, except for what we feel is our vital services. And I think most of you people would feel our vital services too.
Okay. Well, hopefully we've answered some questions. I'm assuming we're making nobody feel any better. We're not feeling any better about it either, but that's...
John?
Yes?
Just one thing. I apologize for not being on the
That's all right.
the agenda. I think one of the frustrations that the electorate has is the Gills Rock Marina project costs a lot of money, and it may be the very thing that's put us in this position. And I think some of the electorates are also seeing some of the same problems that happen with the Marina project as far as particular people's involvement in these projects with the highway committee, what's happening with the roads, and that frustration is coming back again, so. For what it's worth, that's
Thank you. Okay. Back to the board. Sure. Yeah. We need to make a motion.
I move to consider the resolution for borrowing $500,000.
Or move to approve?
Move to approve it, okay.
I'll second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Correspondence.
The levies from the county, NWTC, and Gibraltar are trickling in.
We have no control over those. They are good?
Yep.
Okay.
The water at Town Hall, the fire station, and Gills Rock are all safe to drink. This one also. A notice from the deal, or the DNR for dredging, Francis Dickey, 1758 Hillside Hillside Drive to dredge at a place of pier. The Day at the Barns variance was granted by 9 votes. We have some material that was dumped on Waters End Road down by where North Sand Bay Lane hits Waters End Road. There was some interesting looking stuff down there. Bed spray and some other junk. Got a letter on that. That's it. Very light.
Okay. Future meetings.
Tomorrow night, Door County Unit, Town Association at Mass Walk Day at 7 o'clock. Monday the 11th, 5:30, wastewater treatment plant negotiations with the Sister Bay Utility Committee at South Station. On Tuesday the 12th.
Excuse me, but
Yes.
in that regard, if any of you people are really wondering what the board is doing and has been doing for the last 2 or 3 years on the ownership of the sewer plant, we're now at the point where we've agreed with them that we're gonna solve this problem. And this is the first meeting where Sister Bay is gonna come along with why they feel as though they own it, we don't own the share of it, even though we paid for 43% of it. And so, and then the following meeting, the Utilities Committee is gonna, let the town put its side forward. So the more people we have involved with this, the more you'll understand what's going on, so come to these meetings.
Tuesday the 12th at 8 a.m., representatives of the Highway Committee will be doing the road rating exercise, doing the first half then, and then the second half Friday the 15th at 8 o'clock to do the second half. It's about two four-hour sessions. On Wednesday the 13th, the Plan Commission will be meeting at 7 o'clock.
On 4:30 is the Town of Liberty Grove Utilities Committee meeting. That's still on.
At 4 o'clock.
I've got the utility district hearing at 4 o'clock on their budget for the following year.
Okay, 4. Okay.
On the 14th, town officials will be meeting at Brussels. Scenic Byways will be meeting here at the town hall at 8:30. There is chief inspector training at the government center from 3 to 6 p.m. Monday the 18th, the budget hearing begins at 6, followed by the special town meeting on the levy, followed by the special board meeting on the 2014 budget.
Tentative, I'm sorry, back up on the 12th, economic development, tentative.
7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And on the 20th, what is the joint fire district meeting, the first one in a long time, at Gibraltar Fire Station? November 20th at 7.
Ooh, that's the town board meeting.
I know.
Okay, that's town board and fire district at 7 o'clock. 21st, tourism zone committee meets at the Gibraltar Fire Station. I don't have a time on that one. The 27th, there will probably not be a plan commission meeting. And the town offices are closed on the 28th and the 29th. Highway committee meets December 2nd at 8 o'clock. Parks and Properties on the 3rd at 8 o'clock. Sister Bay Utilities on the 3rd at 7 a.m. December 4th is the town board. Treatment plant negotiations on December 9th at 5:30 at the South Station. Plan Commission December 11th. Town board December 18th. That could be it.
But I have on the 25th of November at 8 a.m. a fire board meeting. Is that on there?
On the 25th?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, November 25th of November.
Yeah,
Fire board at 8 a.m.
8 a.m.
8 a.m.
the meeting of the negotiating committee in December. I believe that's gonna be up here in the village.
It could be, I've got South Station marked on here, but,
Yeah, the one that's coming up Monday is South Station, but then they're coming up here for the next one.
okay.
That'll be here at Town Liberty Grove. That's at 5:30.
5:30.
Yeah.
That's it?
That's it. Okay. Payment of bills. Bud handed out the revised one with the retirement added on line 12.
24,000 sounds cool.
Yeah, 20, would bring the total to 24,592.89. Any questions? If not, I'll move the approval of payment of bills as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Lowry, second by Cavazos. Discussion. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. I move we adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody.